We all know the Raptors have to make some big changes to their team in the offseason, but apparently those changes could come at the very top of the roster with star players like Pascal Siakam and Scottie Barnes. But in this video, I'm going to explain to you and prove to you why these two can coexist in the same team and find success. This topic has been debated ever since Scottie Barnes came into the league, ever since he was drafted by the Toronto Raptors. In fact, mere seconds after Scottie Barnes was drafted by the Toronto Raptors, Kendrick Perkins was on ESPN running his mouth about the fact that this certainly means that Pascal Siakam is gone. Well, it's been nearly 2 years at this point, and Pascal Siakam is still with the team. And along the way, Pascal Siakam has been an all-star and has been on an all-NBA team. He'll certainly get some votes for the all-NBA teams for this season, though I don't think he'll actually make it onto a team. And Scottie Barnes has won Rookie of the Year. So both players have found individual success in the time that Scottie Barnes has come into the league, but still these conversations go on, and the conversations around Siakam and Scottie Barnes successfully coexisting on the same team were reignited in the recent win over the Washington Wizards when former NBA player Drew Gooden had this to say.
They want development for Scottie Barnes and feature him as a franchise piece. You gotta make moves. I just don't think him and Siakam can coexist.
When it comes to the conversations about Pascal Siakam and Scottie Barnes not being able to coexist on the same team, it all boils down to the same thing from the person trying to articulate this sort of argument, and in my opinion, that is just pure laziness. They see players who are similar height, who are both forwards, and just all of a sudden they cannot coexist together. And there really is never any sort of proof or any sort of arguments to back that sort of thing up. So I'm going to provide you with all the arguments why they can and should coexist together on the Raptors. Before we do that, though, if you don't know me, my name is Jacob. I run this channel, Amateur Sports. This is a channel dedicated to covering everything Toronto Raptors related, from news to reactions and everything else. So if you like what you see and you're a Raptors fan, make sure you are subscribed to the channel and help me on my road to 14,000 subs. But the laziness comes from the fact that, yes, it's just two players who have similar body types, similar size, and there really is no merit to a lot of these discussions. And usually one of the first things that comes up to discussions about these two players, why they can't succeed together, is, well, neither of them are very good three-point shooters. Pascal Siakam this season is shooting just under 33%. He has gone above 35% in the past, is not doing that this season. Scottie Barnes came into the league as a player who supposedly could not shoot at all, but in his first season he shot 30%. This season he's shooting 29% from outside the arc, from beyond the arc. And yes, even though that is better than the expectations coming into his NBA career, those numbers still aren't very good. So it's two players who don't really cause a lot of threat from the outside. And understandably, people can have concerns in those particular areas, but it's over fixated on in the arguments against these two operating as a duo, because the reality is not only can these players coexist, these players can thrive off of each other. So the conversations that Scottie Barnes needs to be the centerpiece, Scottie Barnes needs to be the franchise player, also very overblown. Yes, he won Rookie of the Year last season, but sorry for anybody out there that the 21-year-old in his second season is not yet an all-star, is not yet a superstar in the NBA. As it comes to the Raptors roster, success takes time and success is not linear. Scottie Barnes' development is the exact same thing. Success takes time, and his development, well, as we're seeing this season, it is not going to be linear. This season, he's more so stagnated on from last season because he hasn't really developed in the other tools to his game as of yet. We've seen in games without Pascal Siakam, or we've seen in games where the Raptors are ravaged by injuries, that Scottie Barnes isn't quite ready to take on that centerpiece sort of role for this team yet. Now, I am not saying when saying that Scottie Barnes will never get to that point. He can never be the centerpiece of an NBA team. But in the games we've seen this season, especially at the start of the season when Pascal Siakam picked up that injury when he slipped on the floor in Dallas, when Scottie Barnes had to take the reins offensively, had to be the shot creator for himself. I mean, I, for one, was very excited to see him in that sort of role, but it was very clear that he was not exactly ready there. He just didn't have enough moves to really go to score in isolation at a consistent degree. And you might say that that can only come with repetitions, but you know, we're not a tanking team here that is just going to force feed reps to a guy just for the sake of it and will lose as many games in this process. This team wants to stay competitive. This team wants to stay in the mix in the NBA. They don't want to fall off completely and go into the obscurity of, you know, the Charlotte Hornets and the Detroit Pistons, because, you know, we've seen with those teams, once you're at the bottom, It's very, very difficult to climb your way up and get yourself out of those sort of positions. Now, I would have maybe wanted to see at the trade deadline this team fall back a little bit and focus on the draft. That didn't happen here, but I did not want to see this team completely unravel, completely dismantle this team to go for those sort of draft picks to fall all the way to the bottom of the NBA. And I feel like just, offloading Pascal Siakam because they can't coexist and just giving everything to Scottie Barnes, making him do everything, I don't think that's a successful strategy going forward for this team. So the reality is with the shooting, yes, that is a particular problem for the Raptors, but when there's conversations about Siakam and Scottie Barnes not being able to coexist, a lot of the flack and a lot of the negative sort of opinion in that statement with these two being involved goes on Pascal Siakam. And even though I'm super big on Scottie Barnes, I've got a jersey of Scottie Barnes. It's right there. I've got Scottie Barnes, the Slam magazine, framed on my wall, just out of frame over there. Like, I am a huge Scottie Barnes believer, and a month ago on this channel, I was preaching why this guy is poised to have a very big finish to the season. I'm all in on Scottie Barnes, but these two coexisting, if anything, there's some indictments against Scottie Barnes here because no, neither of them can really shoot the ball very effectively, but at least when Pascal Siakam has the ball on the perimeter, you actually have to play defense on him. When Scottie Barnes has the ball in the perimeter, well, lately Scottie Barnes, it's changed definitely since Jakob Poeltl's come into the team. But for a lot of this season, Scottie Barnes was being defended like Draymond Green. And with all due respect, he was being guarded as if he was Ben Simmons. No respect was really taken to his outside game, which clogged up space for different Raptors players. And in a sense, maybe made the game a little bit more difficult for Pascal Siakam to operate here. But, Scottie Barnes came into the league as somebody who supposedly could not shoot at all. His knockdown game is okay from the catch and shoot positions, and I know that's going to improve. I really like his shooting stroke. I like the way his mechanics have improved this season, and I think those things are going to continue to improve for the player, but we need to give him time as a 21-year-old. So why exactly do I think they can coexist, and why exactly do I think that they are going to be able to coexist successfully for this team? With this current Toronto Raptors team, they are very much finding success with their starting lineup. Their second most used lineup this season, even though we made that Jakob Poeltl trade, February 9th, the trade deadline, even though it's only been just under 2 months here, the second most used lineup for the Raptors this season is Fred VanVleet, Scottie Barnes, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, and Jakob Poeltl. That is the 5-man unit that is starting games when the Raptors are fully healthy, and they have seen success. I don't need statistics to tell you that this team is playing extremely well on the floor together. And a lot of recent losses has come from the bench, really dragging the team down. And if you want the statistics to prove that even further, that lineup has a net rating of 13. Given the sample size, how much it's been used, that is pretty impressive, especially for a Raptors team who has struggled to find a lot of success this season. So I will say I was wrong about this particular lineup. I was wrong about this lineup. I thought that the spacing would be an issue. It certainly is not. It definitely helps that OG has really sprung forward offensively in this stretch, especially shooting from the outside. There's plenty of games where he's knocking down multiple threes. Sometimes he's getting to 3 or 4 3-pointers in these matches like he did yesterday, especially against the Miami Heat. The Raptors are finding success with his unit. Pascal Siakam is finding success with this unit. He's really gotten out of that funk that plagued him at the start of March and at the end of February. Scottie Barnes is playing well and, in fact, had his best game of the season yesterday against the Miami Heat. You could maybe argue that was the best game of his career yesterday against the Miami Heat with a career high in 12 assists. So, what exactly is allowing this team to find success, particularly with players like Pascal Siakam and Scottie Barnes on the floor together? Well, Pascal Siakam is a premier player in the NBA. He's a top 20 player in the NBA. He's going to get all NBA considerations. I don't think he'll actually make a team, but his name's being floated around. There's going to be some votes going his way. So, Siakam is respected in the NBA. There are multiple ways he can hurt you. There are multiple ways he can get to his spot. Yeah, he can hit his 3-pointers. He can hit in mid-range. He can get to the rim, and he can score at the line. He can draw fouls. There's a lot of different ways. Once again, Pascal Siakam can hurt you. That takes a lot of focus from the defense. A lot of the focus for the defense is immediately going towards Pascal Siakam. And when the focus is there, the gravity is going his way, that just opens up spaces for Scottie Barnes. Scottie Barnes as a ball handler is just not really there yet in terms of finding his scoring from an isolation standpoint. there's no need to rush this. There's no need to force these possessions on him. But when Scottie Barnes is cutting, when Scottie Barnes is posting up, he is certainly finding success. He has more space to cut and more space to post up when he's paired with good players like Pascal Siakam. Scottie Barnes this season is averaging 15.5 points per game. That is solid. It's probably not as much as we would like it to be, but keeping our expectations in check, it has been a fine season from Scottie Barnes and one that he can continue to progress forward from in the future. In the games without Pascal Siakam this season, not much of a difference, but Scottie Barnes is averaging only 14.4 points per game. And in those games without Siakam, he has seen his field goal percentage also drop significantly. So, Scottie Barnes scoring in the games without Pascal Siakam, he scores less points per game, and he's doing so less efficiently. Because these are the situations where Scottie Barnes has to go and create his own shot, which he's just not quite there yet. Siakam being on the floor gives Scottie Barnes more space, and Pascal Siakam's playmaking on the floor just opens up more opportunities for Scottie Barnes to find success. The fact that both of them cannot shoot, well, I would wager Pascal Siakam is a solid three-point shooter. His pull-up threes are not great. The problem is he kind of has to take him to continue to get that respect on the perimeter and continue to be guarded there. But when the Raptors can get catch-and-shoot opportunities for Siakam, that is where he's a lot better, and he's very, very good shooting from the left corner. We started to use Siakam more from catch-and-shoot situations from the left corner. I still want to see it a little bit more for the player. As for Scottie Barnes, what's really going to propel him with his development again to the next level, yeah, isolation scoring definitely is something that's going to be a factor for Barnes, but the biggest things for his game are going to be, first of all, like hitting the catch and shoot threes at a better clip. I don't really want to see Scottie Barnes. I don't want to see it at all. Scottie Barnes taking those pull-up jumpers from three. Catch and shoot threes, continue to take them. I don't care, it's only 29%. Continue to take them so that they can get better. At least that will get defenders to start to respect that shot a little bit more and play up on you a little bit more. But the catch and shoot threes, we cannot have 29% consistently. That's got to get to the mid-30s at some point, something that he definitely is going to be working on in the offseason. The second thing that is going to propel his game is his post moves and sharpening up the post moves, adding in more post moves to score in those areas because, with the spacing of Fred VanVleet, the spacing that Pascal Siakam has, Jakob Poeltl's spacing in terms of his playmaking and screen setting, if we can get Scottie Barnes more adept in the post, that is going to significantly benefit this team. But as it comes to Siakam, Barnes, not being able to coexist, once again, it is just lazy. It is just surface level interpretation of this team saying, oh, two guys who are about 6'9" who play as the forwards. There's no way they can play together because they don't get the ball enough equally. They can't share the ball. They both can't be at their best together, when in fact, all that we have seen in nearly 2 full seasons of these two playing together is that they are better when they play together. Not only can they coexist, they get the best out of each other. Their qualities complement each other. Siakam does really well with the cutting of Scottie Barnes to find those passes. When Scottie Barnes gets himself open after Siakam gets doubled, a lot of buckets come out of those plays. Scottie Barnes, with the ball in his hand in the post as a playmaker, can also find Pascal Siakam in a lot of different areas. Scottie Barnes takes a little bit of gravity himself on the inside to open up space for Pascal Siakam. The reality is, if you want to have a competitive basketball team in the National Basketball Association, you need to have more than one good player on your team. And sometimes, yeah, their traits are going to be somewhat similar, but you have to adapt. And since the acquisition of Jakob Poeltl, as I said with the lineups, the Raptors have adapted. If you want to find more success with this Raptors team, the first thing that's got to happen is bolstering the depth. Because at the top of this roster, there certainly is talent. We are really starting to see it since the trade deadline. Yes, there still is some deficiencies, and there was much work to do in the offseason, but that work does not constitute moving on from Pascal Siakam to benefit Scottie Barnes, because Siakam being on this team benefits Scottie Barnes, and I want to see that continue to flourish for the next season. What do you guys make of this duo? Do you think they can coexist? Do you think they cannot coexist? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, because that is it for me for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Drop a like if you enjoyed. It does go a long way to supporting the channel, and to help me on my road to 14,000 subs, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and in exchange, you get Raptors content through videos, live streams, and shorts. I'd say that's a pretty fair trade.